Well, hello again, sports bettors. It's Jonathan here from the School of Bets, and in this video we're going to take a look at betting on the Australian Football League. Now, Australian football's professional league is called the AFL. It's of course played in Australia, and it's the fourth most attended domestic sporting league in the world. The sport is full of insane contact, elite running, and boasts some of the most skillful athletes on the planet. Now, the AFL season runs from April to September, with September being the month of playoffs. All US sportsbooks offer markets on all matches. So let's take a look at some of the more common betting markets. Let's take a look at head-to-head. Think money line. The AFL is all about evening up the competition through salary caps, free agency, and drafts. What this means is there's value there for bettors on every single market. With head-to-head betting, you're only betting on the outright winner. So you just need to know who is going to win the game, whether that be by 1 point or 100 points. The AFL is a national competition, and so home ground advantage plays a really big factor. Australia is a big country, and travel times are quite extensive. So teams on the road find it hard to win in hostile environments where they often face an ambush. The take-home point here is look for the underdog, particularly if that underdog is playing at home. The second major market is the line market. Think point spread. Exactly like the NFL or the NBA, it's a handicap market. The key number in the point spread in the AFL is always factored around 6 points. The major scoring in the AFL is either 6 points or 1 point. So therefore, lines of plus and minus 6.5, plus and minus 12.5, plus and minus 18.5, or multiples of such are really key numbers. Australian rules football revolves around elite running, and so therefore it's a momentum sport. When teams seize the momentum, they run and pressure and tackle and maintain field position and often pile on points. So with line betting, teams can blow out a big margin, and then that margin can be eaten into just as quickly. The take-home with line betting is if you see a generous start, it's usually worth taking a look into. When teams stop running, they stop scoring, and even the best teams do stop running, particularly when they're icing the game. The margin's big enough that they're comfortable they're going to win, and sometimes they take the foot off the pedal. Margin betting is one of the most popular forms of betting in the Australian rules football. We call it big win, little win. Now, as I said before, scoring happens in multiples of 6 and 1. So therefore, the margin brackets are set at 1 to 39 points or 40 plus. A win of 40 plus points is about 7 goals, 42 points being 7 goals. That's quite a dominant win, but not unheard of. It actually happens quite regularly in the AFL. The favoured market usually is 1 to 39 points on the favoured team. Sometimes bettors like to take the 1 to 39 points instead of the head-to-head or money line bet on that team because they get a little bit better odds. There's nothing more frustrating though than having your team win, but win by more than 39 points, and so you don't get paid. The take-home point here is bet on margins at your peril. And don't forget, the draw is a factor. There is no extra time unless it's playoffs. So not only is there 1 to 39 margin on both teams and 40 plus on both teams, there's a fifth bracket, and that's the draw. A market that many seasoned AFL bettors like to bet on is the disposals market. A disposal in the AFL is if a player kicks the ball or hand passes the ball. Each of those count for a disposal. Individual player disposal counts is a market you can bet on. Also, head-to-head disposals between two key players. This market is linked heavily to the fantasy football market, which is huge in the AFL. Not quite as big as the NFL, but nonetheless a really, really big market. The disposals market is also one that people like to include in their same-game parlays. Look out for same-game parlays. The value's not always there for you, but there's sometimes some great promotions linked to those bets. And finally, there's the first goal scorer market. As the name suggests, this market is about betting on the player that is going to kick the first goal. You can also drill down on that and bet on the first player to kick a goal for your team. Obviously, the odds are shortened. That's really quite difficult to pick. The whole first scorer market is kind of a lottery. There are favoured players, but of course, often their odds are really short. The first goal scorer market is often one people like to bet small on for a bit of fun. Now, there's a bunch of other markets you can bet on in the AFL. Check the notes under the video and find the article that we've written that delves deep into all of those markets. Learn how to bet on the Australian rules football. It's played overnight. It's a great time to level up your account while you're sleeping. For all other things sport and sports betting, get along to schoolofbets.com. Thanks for watching today. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time on the School of Bets.